Well, hello, thank you for joining me today again on the Church History Trail. You're very welcome to the programme, and where we find ourselves this evening is we're back in BALLYNURE Old Graveyard, and I want to speak to you and show you the grave of a Presbyterian minister who's buried here. But before I do, I want to mention some old gravestones. Mary Magdalene Church, which was an ancient church, used to stand here, and all that's left now is part of the tower, and I showed you that in another wee video. But it's believed that some of the old stones here might have actually came from that old church, because it's proposed that some of the poor people who couldn't afford headstones might have possibly used these stones from the church to mark the graves of their dead loved one. So it's a possibility, and we don't know for certain, but certainly that has been suggested if you check out the history of the graveyard here. But the Reverend Robert Hill was the minister of Ballynure Presbyterian Church. Excuse me. And the church itself is actually up in the centre of the village. Now, he was detained in prison for 2 days for allowing a wake in his church. And you might think, well, it's a bit extreme. The wake was for William Orr, who had been hanged for supposedly administering the oath to the United Irishmen. And certainly Orr was sympathetic to their cause, at the very least. But the Reverend Hill was actually detained, and he was born in 1758, but he died on the 21st of July 1827 in the 70th year of his age and the 42nd of his ministry. And his wife Helena, she died on the 24th of November 1825, and Adam Jr. died on the 14th of April 1832 at the age of 27. And this is the plot here, as you can see. And I'll read that out to you in a wee moment, but I want to read the board out to you first. It says Presbyterian graves. So in the far corner over that way, I done a video on the Methodist graves, and this is the Presbyterian grave. So this is brilliant the way this is marked out. It's really helpful, I have to say. It says here, 3 ministers from Ballynure Presbyterian are interred in this and the adjacent grave, which is just there. I'll show you that in a moment as well. All 3 ministers died while in service to the congregation. So it says here, Reverend William Rogers ministered 1751 to 1785 without a headstone, but in the same plot as the Reverend Adam Hill, which is here. And then it says the Reverend Adam Hill ministered 1875 to 1826. Also in the grave are his wife Helena, a daughter of Reverend William Rogers, their 27-year-old son Adam, and a number of Dr. Joseph Bankhead's children. And then it says there, Reverend J.W. Mackay ministered 1826 to 1847. Also in his grave are his wife Margaret Boyd and their 2 young daughters, each named Jane Houston Boyd, one of whom died aged 2 years and 3 months, and the other in her 9th year. So there you go. And as I say, this is the plot here of the Reverend Hill. So he's actually buried in here. But this one here is of a descendant. It says the memory of, I think that's William Rogers Hill, and he died in, I'm not sure where that is. But it was 1800 that he died. And also the body of the Bankhead Hill, we had mentioned there in the board as well. And they died the 25th of March 18 something, that's broke off. And then it goes on, the bodies of his brothers who died in infancy. So this is a plot where the Reverend Hill is buried. Just a pity that's not cleaned up. And it's hard to make this one out. Don't know if you can see that or not. So I'm going to take you around now and I'm going to read the other one to you. So if you're coming to this graveyard, just look out for these boards. And also on the way in at the coffin house, there's also information there. So this is the other one here, which says, "Sacred to the memory of the Reverend Mackay," who I think was on that board, who died, it's hard to make that out, October 18. I'll have a wee look at the board again. It's hard to make out the writing, but it's I think it's I.W. Mackay, but that's the grave there of one of their ministers. And I'll have a wee look at the board again, just to confirm that. Yeah, it's J.W. Mackay, 1826. He ministered to 1847. But it doesn't give you when he died, unfortunately. But there you go. That's the graves anyway of the 3 Presbyterian ministers of Ballynure Presbyterian Church. So I hope you've enjoyed the programme, and thanks for watching. God bless.